car stars and everything in between. He's the star, Richard Bazzi from Schultz Ford. I'm Bubba from 100.7 Star. And on with us today is Jonna Mendez, Jonna Mendez, who I'm so excited to be talking to today because you are a retired CIA intelligence officer with over 25 years of service. And at one point, you were the chief of disguise at the CIA. And that title alone has got me intrigued.
All of that is true.
Jonna, this is Richard. Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm like a child today because, of course, growing up, a lot of little boys loved to play spies and all those wonderful things, spy games. Some of the questions are endless. I don't even know where to begin to start, but how does one end up chief of disguise? Like, did you grow up wanting to do that? Did you like changing your disguise? So I have that question. How do you end up being that?
Well, I have to tell you before we begin, I just finished a long piece of work writing a new book. It started during COVID. It actually turned into a manuscript. It's at the CIA right now being reviewed. So I tell the story of how it happened in the book, and I haven't gotten the review back yet from the CIA that says it's okay. So I'll tell you anyway, because I'm pretty sure it's innocuous.
I love this.
I started working for the CIA as a photographer, doing what we call clandestine photography. I was an amateur photographer, very, very avid, I would say. The photography at the CIA was not 35 millimeter single lens reflex cameras. It was cameras in things you never dreamed a camera would be in.
Like what?
Like a belly of a pregnant woman who wasn't actually pregnant. That was just a concealment device with a camera that was shooting out of a button in her shirt, stuff like that. So that was very interesting. It was very productive. The photography that came in from all our agents around the world, that was a wonderful chain of intelligence.
Jonna, can I interrupt you?
Sure.
And I'm not trying to be rude, and I apologize. I like the parallels, and I don't want to forget this. So when you say that device and where it was, and what you did with it, how would that parallel to something today? Because the technology changed, everything's changed now. What would be the parallel today to do that from yesterday?
Well, here's one of the gaping holes in my knowledge, because I don't know. I have no need to know. I can only do what you do, which is just a little conjecturing, thinking, how would that work in today's world? It would be, I think, easier because the cameras are smaller, because they're digital, because you can put them anywhere. I kind of operate assuming that there are cameras all over the place. I'm on the board of the International Spy Museum, and in the museum we have a room that is modeled after a hotel room in East Germany back in the day, and everything is bugged. Everything in the room is bugged, and we kind of show you, there's no point in looking for bugs anymore because they can be anywhere. It's in the binding of a book. It's in the plug-in socket in the wall. It's everything is bugged.
I don't know that I could be any more intrigued by this conversation.
I know, me too.
I feel like I still feel when I hear you say these things, I feel like every little boy growing up, like this is really what I should have done with my life, because it sounds so amazingly interesting. And no wonder you wrote a book.
I mean, it is. It really is. It's so crazy.
Well, I would point out at the top of this interview that the office I worked for at CIA was it was called Office of Technical Service, and it was the Q, modeled after you guys. It was the Q of the CIA. We were the technical support for the entire agency and basically for the community. No matter what you needed, if it was technically important to your operation, it came from my office, my larger office of maybe 1,000 people. So if you wanted to put a bug anywhere, you came to see us. We could put them anywhere.
So when you talk about the operation, Jonna, and you say, that would assist in the operation, what is the operation? What exactly do we learn that that helps us do what? What is the operation?
When we start tracking this thing down, I start backing up to generalities, and I end up founding documents of the CIA, which is not where you want to go. But come forward a little bit, that the job we were doing was to collect information on the plans and intentions of our enemies. That was pretty much it. What are they going to do? Well, we didn't decide what areas were of importance. It would come from our policymakers. They would issue a proclamation once a year that says, we want to know about nuclear work in this country. We want to know about engineering over here. We want to know about the military over here. So that comes out to the CIA offices wherever you are. And we sit down and have meetings and say, who knows? Let's talk about nuclear in this country that we're in. Do you know someone inside of their nuclear community? No. Well, how can we meet someone? And it begins. We go out and find the people that have the information that our policymakers are asking us for. And with nuclear, this is worldwide, and it's been a really important account, as you could imagine. So you find someone who knows someone. That's where our case officers come in, and we say there is a person over here who's inside of that community. Our case officer's job, which I could not do that job, is to somehow meet that person in a bar, at a community organization, wherever that person is. Does their kid go to the same school that your kid goes to? However you can meet that person, then the case officer's job is to try and recruit him, to explain to him in any way he wants to why it would be important that we have this information. And sometimes you do it in a straightforward way, and sometimes you do it in a less straightforward way. But you get the information, we write a report, we send it back to Washington. So that's the cycle of collection.
Perfect answer.
So
that's exactly what my question was.
The technology is, what do you need? Do you need a camera that this foreign person can use to copy the document? Do you need a bug where it could be placed where information that we're interested in could be collected? It's a process.
How integrated into our world, into the fiber of our current world, in our country, North America, United States, are we infiltrated with those type of spies or people trying to gather information against us? They could be anybody, right?
It's everywhere. It's everywhere. I mean, look at this recent case of this young man who was in the National Guard.
Yep.
What he's doing is giving you an unauthorized peek at this flow of information that is not meant for the general public. It's meant for, it has recipients, it has people that are sending it, people that are receiving it. You can see that some of it is what we call SIGINT, signals intelligence, collected from electronic emanations around the world. Some of it is that's why we have 17 intelligence agencies. NSA, National Security Agency, the really scary, really secret one. NSA is supposed to stand for no such agency. It's so secret.
Oh my gosh. By the way, if you're just tuning in, this is Jonna Mendez. This is Cars, Stars, and everything in between. More with her when we return. Wow. All right, we're going to do a quick break here. Stand by. Saving that first break. We'll come back.
Sorry.
No. That was the first break. We're going to come back and record the second 9-minute segment. That was phenomenal. Stand by.
So cool.
All right. As soon as it saves, I will begin the next segment. And here we go. 100.1 FM, AM 1020 KDK. This is Cars, Stars, and everything in between. He's the star, Richard Bazzi, Schultz Ford, schultzford.com. I'm Bubba from 100.7 Star, and Jonna Mendez, CIA disguise. So how detailed how detailed could disguises get that you had to create for somebody that was going undercover?
Very detailed. At the International Spy Museum, there's a case devoted to me behind glass, so I can stand and admire, some of my work, which is fun. A lot of people don't get to do that. But the thing that's featured in that case is one of the more sophisticated disguises that we ever made, and it was a full face mask. It was actually a face of another person that we put on me, and it animated. You could wear it. We could do this interview. I might have it on right now. You don't know. But in the exhibit in the Spy Museum, I'm sitting in the Oval Office. I'm sitting next to Bill Webster, who was the director of CIA at the time. He's sitting next to John Sununu, who's sitting next to Bob Gates, used to be director of CIA, who's sitting next to Brent Scowcroft. So it's the morning briefing. It's me and the guys. It's George H.W. Bush and this horseshoe half circle, and we're briefing him, and I'm wearing a mask. So President Bush had been previously a director of the CIA. He had worn a couple of disguises. I had pictures of him in disguise, and in the first, I'm handing him the pictures, and he's looking, and he's kind of laughing because he's remembered. Oh, that was fun. Yeah, I remember that. And I'm telling him that I'm there to show him kind of the next generation, a much better approach to disguise. So he looks over, and he's looking at me in my chair, and he's looking for the bag that I must have with me with these disguise materials. And I said, but I'm wearing it, and I'm going to take it off and show it to you now. And I do this, and he goes, hold on, stop, just wait a minute. And
this is, by the way, the president of the United States of America that you're doing this to.
So he gets up and he walks around, and he looks, and he doesn't know what I have. It could be a fake nose. He's looking for seams or something. Couldn't find any. So he sat down. He said, okay, take it off. So I do the Tom Cruise peel, and I'm holding it up in the air. And John Sununu looks up because he hadn't been paying any attention because he's going to brief the president next. So he's writing, he's making notes, and he looks up, and I'm sitting over there with my face in the air. It was this dissonant moment. He almost fell out of his chair. Dan Quayle comes tiptoeing in the room with his portfolio because he overslept and he's late for the meeting. It was this moment, and I hear this click, click, because there's a photographer in there. There's always a photographer in there, and they take the pictures. So I used to want to be that photographer. So I'm the first to brief the president. He really liked this disguise, by the way. And I'm the first one to leave. So I went to the outer office. There's a secretary. There's that dog, Millie. And Millie had puppies. And puppies so I'm down on the floor playing with Millie's puppies. And the photographer came out of the office. He came over and said, excuse me. She said, what was that? And I said, oh, yeah. I said, you got some pictures. She said, oh, yeah, I got some pictures. This was a film camera. This is not digital. You can't go back and look. She said, but what did you do? So I said, I can't tell you. It's classified. So it took her 10 years or whoever, 10 years. Someone sent me the photos eventually. And there's a picture of me, the part where I'm holding it up in the air. And they've airbrushed it out because it's classified.
No way.
I have a picture. I've taken them all down right now, or I'd show you. I have a picture of me in the Oval Office. And it looks like I'm doing, let me make it look right on the screen. It looks like I'm doing this, sir.
Pointing.
And people come into my office and look at that picture and they say, what were you saying to him? What were you telling him? It looks like you were. And I said, well, I can't talk about it. It's classified.
Oh my gosh, that is so interesting to me. I want to know more, so much more. But I have a question that just raised in my mind. Donald Trump was flying private, of course, his own plane. He has his own Trump plane, but last year that plane was going through renovations, so he was using another plane. I took a picture of it. It had a tail number. As you know, every plane, private aviation, has an N number, starts with N. I took a picture of it. I had the picture, and it showed the tail number. The next day, if you look at my pictures now, that tail number's gone. It's just gone.
What?
Yeah, it's gone.
It just takes a step ladder and.
No, on my photos.
How did they get into your phone? How did they get into your phone and erase the number?
It's gone. It is totally gone.
That's what we called FM, and the M stood for magic.
And
Really?
Is there more of that we know of?
Our engineers used to talk about FM. Yeah. Anyway,
that is so cool. So that's plausible to you?
No,
It's not.
but I never explained. I never have meant to say that I knew anything about electronics, because I really basically don't.
So is there anything that anybody could tell you being in the CIA that would surprise you?
Oh, sure. I mean, they're surrounding the intelligence agencies worldwide. There's just this swirl of incredible stories, and I mean, some of them are true and some of them are not. But I never take any of them really at face value, because it's so easy to spin something up out of this black hole of knowledge that is what the public knows about the intelligence community. That's why, the movie Argo was so well received, because it's one of the few times I think that any public group felt like they were getting a real look at how it works, the people inside the agency, what makes it go, what works. We like that movie.
I haven't seen that movie, but I do intend to.
You have to. All you have to do is get on a commercial jet and punch it into the back of the seat in front of you. It's still everywhere. It's amazing.
Yeah. Now, your husband is also part of your spy community?
We lost Tony 4 years ago to Parkinson's.
Oh, I'm so
long,
sorry.
terrible disease. But he was a 25-year employee of the CIA. Joined as an artist. That's one of his paintings.
Wow.
That's one of his last paintings. And when he applied, he was working out in Denver. He was doing artwork. He was drawing wiring diagrams for the Titan II missiles, which is not artwork. And the CIA ran an ad. They said they were the U.S. Navy. They were looking for an artist to work overseas, and he was just intrigued and applied. Then he found out he was talking to the CIA, and he thought, what does the CIA want with an artist? Well, they wanted a counterfeiter forger. That's what they wanted. So Tony came in that door and ended up being very senior and very well thought of. He had a great career.
Jonna, does the CIA or anybody ever contact you and ask you not to discuss certain things, or to tell you that you did and that's a no-no?
No, but they're out there, and I know that. And so I do a lot of self-censoring that isn't maybe sometimes apparent. We've written this book that'll be out next March. Is the 5th book, and they go through every book, and if there's something classified, they ask us to take it out.
Where can people that are listening find your books if they're interested in reading more?
Amazon, Amazon.com. They're all there.
And your website, right?
And there's a website. Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. Let me ask you one final question, if I might. Using the knowledge, using everything that you've learned over your entire career, what would you say today is our biggest threat?
Such a choice we have. So many greater threats. Right now, are you talking domestic or internationally?
Actually, I'd probably say domestic.
Well, see, then it becomes hard to respond, because then it starts getting political. And I always I have very strong political views. Although I would tell anybody who's listening that when I worked for the CIA, I never knew the person next to me if they were a Republican or a Democrat. We did not do politics, didn't matter. Who was the president didn't matter. The work was what mattered. That's
Isn't
what
that the way it should be today, though?
I think it may be. I don't know. I'm not there. But
Yeah.
this political thing has just becoming this overwhelming cloud that hangs over our country, and it's hard to discuss so many things without going into.
without it turning political.
I do a lot
Absolutely.
of public speaking, and everybody wants to boil it down to how do you feel about gun control? How do you feel about abortion? How do you feel? I'm sorry, it doesn't matter how I feel.
Wow.
So
John,
I just completely sidestepped your question. I'm sorry.
No, it's wonderful. So let me just take another half a second and change that paradigm a little bit back to international. Make the question the largest international threat you think we may have right now.
I think it's this authoritarianism that just seems to be sweeping the world. These larger than life leaders like Putin, who are looking for even more, even larger, even more powerful. It bounces. It's like a billiard table. It bounces around, and
Yeah.
other countries pick up on it. I think the world is more scary right now than it was when I started working.
wow.
Then add in some terrorism and stir in a little bit of a drug cartel, and it's massive.
It amazes me when I think about it. It amazes me that we can live here, go through things such as 9/11, and that we still can feel safe. That if there were another attack or anything like that, that we're still safe. That our government never sleeps, and that's comforting to know.
It is. I mean, it's gotten trite, but they call 9/11 a failure of imagination, and I believe it was. Nobody ever dreamed that you could use an airplane as a weapon.
Right.
And I think we need to have the right kind of people looking at the world situation and trying to imagine what else is out there, what else could happen.
That's a great way to end it. Jonna Mendez, thank you so much for joining us for Car Stars and everything in between. Hopefully they won't restrict too much in your upcoming book that comes out in March of 2024.
I think they won't. It's because I've been fairly careful. It's called In True Face, and it's a lot about this guys and about women in the CIA, and it kind of bleeds out to women in the society in general. It should be fun.
Well, thank you.